All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Unscripted. And we got a special episode today. We're going to be talking about the MLB playoffs, doing a short recap of the wild card games and also previewing what both the AL and NL division series are going to look like. Joining me to talk about all this baseball playoff action, as always, Jay McLevin. What's going on, my friend?
It is awesome. Tomorrow we get this thing started, man. Logan, it's gonna be crazy. You got college football and you got baseball tomorrow, and then we get NFL on Sunday. I mean, this is gonna be an action-packed weekend, man.
If you have plans for tomorrow, cancel them. Stay home and watch sports. And of course, Dustin Reese, aka our greatest stat guy. What's up, man?
Good. You guys missing out on some great baseball tonight too.
That's true.
You have the Arizona Fall League going on, and they're streaming all their games this fall.
That's true. We got the young guys, some top prospects, and that'd be also good to watch too if you're fiendishly into baseball. So you can all watch that as well. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode today, once again, like, comment, share, and subscribe on the following social media platforms: Unscripted on Facebook, X, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. You see it right there. But the easiest way to find all of these, though, is through our link tree, which is in the description of all of our episodes. One-stop shop for all of our social media channels. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's do a quick recap of just the the wild card series. Let's start off just top of the list here. Jay, give us your thoughts on Toronto falling 2-0 to the Minnesota Twins. Twins win their first playoff series since 2002.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's kind of weird that, I think the four teams that are in the ALDS, are pretty much the four teams that we all predicted and everything that we got predicted. I mean, it's almost it falls into place. It's weird. It's scripted or something. Yeah, again, this is, like I said, this is a battle of, Correa versus Springer, the Astros that got, sent someplace else coming together. And it was exactly, I didn't think it was going to be sweeps. I didn't think it was going to go like that. But, a lot of errors were made on the opposing teams that were losing. Several of the pitchers were getting like 3 and 4 errors, on them. So, when you're doing error baseball and you're not generating a lot of hits, and your pitchers are giving away a lot of errors like that, it's tough to win games. It really is. And so, Toronto really got killed by their pitching more than anything. That and lack of offense, let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point. And Dustin, what do you think of the series with Toronto falling 2-0?
Well, you had to know that eventually that streak was going to come to an end for the Twins, as they have not won a playoff series since the early 2000s. They haven't won a playoff game since, I think, 2004 up until this series.
Yeah, one game was 2004.
Yeah. I thought Toronto was going to sweep them. I did not think Minnesota was going to have enough offense to beat Toronto, even though they had the second best offense in the American League since August 1st, only behind Houston. But I thought Toronto, being that they've had more of that playoff experience of getting to the divisional round, was going to be able to take this. But you can't help yourself when you commit 6 errors in 2 games and score 2 runs in 2 games either. So they didn't do themselves any favors.
That's a great point. My thoughts on it is, I mean, let's be real. Toronto could have won game 2. They had a better chance if they did not pull Berrios out. I mean, he was he only pitched, 3 innings, I believe, and you paid this dude an insane amount of money in the offseason. I don't know how you only let him pitch 3 innings when it's not like he's struggling. I don't understand that. Definitely a questionable decision. there for Toronto. Also, just kind of poor base running. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he was on second base. Could have gotten in a run, but got picked off, just caught lacking. Just like you mentioned, bad play from the Blue Jays. Mistakes that they could have avoided that cost them in this series, and that's why they're going home. Let's keep it in the AL here. Let's go Texas Rangers. Once again, there's a common theme with all these is that it's a sweep. Texas Rangers just beating the brakes off of the Tampa Bay Rays, the lowly Tampa Bay Rays, because not only did they get beat, but they got made fun of a lot just for the lack of fans in the stands. It was called a group at one point. Just not a good look for Tampa Bay after a really good regular season. Dustin, your thoughts on the Rangers getting the win in this one?
I mean, I did pick the Rangers to win the AL West, so to see them in the divisional round doesn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more so surprised they beat Tampa, just because Tampa, yes, they've gone, I think now 20-some innings without scoring a run, or 30 innings without scoring a run in the playoffs until they got one the other day. But Tampa's always one of those teams that no matter how they finish the regular season, if they get into the playoffs, they tend to make a deep run. And we've seen that over and over again with Kevin Cash, where all of a sudden this postseason started and Tampa Bay looked like a bunch of rookies making the playoffs for the first time. They couldn't field a baseball. They couldn't throw strikes when they had to. And they just went up there pretty much deciding before the pitch was even being thrown that they were going to swing at whatever was getting thrown to home plate. And for a team that has as much playoff experience as they have, I think they were the biggest disappointment and the biggest shocker in the entire wild card round, just because they looked so lost the entire series.
All right, Jay, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Montgomery pitched a hell of a gem. And those two balls that he fielded, they got those dudes out in crucial times during that game. I think one of them was even when I think they had a bases loaded or something. I mean, his fielding during game one was just stupid. And then you go to not Effin. You go to Glasnow, who just horrible. 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 errors, 8 strikeouts, and 5 walks. 5 walks, 3 errors, 6 hits, 4 runs. I mean, come on. Again, 6 hits on offense, 4 errors on defense. You cannot win like that. You just can't. And then you look at game 2, and game 2 wasn't any better. You had Evaldi pitching a gem at 6 hits, 1 run, 8 Ks, and 6.2 to Effin, who gave you 5 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 errors, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and 2 home runs. You can't win like that.
No.
You just can't. And so errors killed them. The lack of being able to hit the ball killed them. It just horrible, just horrible. And, Tampa, I felt like, I wanted to go. I was hoping Tampa would beat Texas because I felt like, we match up good with either one of those two teams. Mm-hmm. But I don't think either one of those two teams, Texas or Tampa, can beat Baltimore. I think Baltimore is a hell of a team. I think Texas might have the best shot at it, but I just think Baltimore's going to – I think they're going to make it to the ALCS. I really do.
Quick question with this one. Which of the two teams eliminated did you expect to move on? That I guess you could say also just disappointed you the most, Tampa or Toronto?
Oh, Tampa. Oh, Tampa. It's not even close. That Tampa defense and Tampa pitching was just atrocious. It was. Yeah. I'm not saying that Toronto was any better, but certainly I just felt like I felt like the pitching of Tampa really gave them those games away.
All right, Dustin?
I had both teams advancing to the divisional round. I had Tampa Bay in the ALCS, so both of them shocked me that they didn't make it through. But Tampa Bay, like Jay said, for a team as good as they have been all season, especially on the pitching side of things, they look like a completely different team.
Yeah, did not look good. Let's go over to the NL here. Arizona Diamondbacks moving on, beating the Brewers in 2-0. Dustin, I'll let you kick things off.
Happiest person alive to see that the Diamondbacks won. And I'm also not surprised in the slightest because the Diamondbacks went 5-2 against the Brewers during the regular season. So that was kind of the matchup that the Brewers did not want to have happen in the playoffs. But one thing about the Brewers that people in Wisconsin fail to realize, no matter how many times you can drill it in their head, You can have the best pitchers in Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, and Freddie Peralta, which the Brewers do have one of the best top threes in baseball.
They do.
But once the playoff starts, when Brandon Woodruff has a 7.20 ERA in his postseason career, when Corbin Burns has a 5.40 ERA in his postseason career, and when Freddie Peralta's ERA in the playoffs is a 9, you know that as good as they've been in the regular season, they can't pitch in the playoffs. And guess what happened? Same exact thing. They gave you 3 solid innings. Inning 4 comes around. Burns gets shelled, gives up 4 runs. Inning 5 comes around for Peralta. Peralta gets shelled, gives up 4 runs. Game over, series over.
All right, Jay, what you think about Arizona moving on? Now they're going to be taking on their division rivals.
Yeah, I really thought the Brewers were gonna. I picked them to win that series, and the fact that they got beat and swept in it, I'm shocked, man. I really am. Fat, he comes out and gives you only 2 innings in game 1. I was like, damn, okay. And then that bullpen just played beautifully. And they got the biggest thing about it was they got runners in scoring position home, and the Brewers didn't, and that really was the biggest thing. Walker and Carroll both had multi-hit games for Arizona. The Brewers got 3 runs off of 12 hits. You're leaving guys on base. That's 12 men that you got on base. You can only get 3 runs out of that. That tells me you're leaving men in scoring position, stranded on an island, and you can't win like that in games 1 or 2. Like Dustin said, I think Dustin pretty much covered most of it. My biggest thing is, Arizona's defense was better at getting runners, or Arizona's offense was better at getting runners home, and the Brewers just couldn't do that.
Yeah, definitely struggled in that series. Did Milwaukee, and Arizona moves on. And finally, last wildcard game we'll talk about before we get into our predictions for the AL and NLDS. The Philadelphia Phillies moving on, face the Atlanta Braves once again, beating the Marlins 2-0. Like I said, might as well just sweep all of them. Unfortunately, we didn't get a game 3 in any of these, which I'm kind of sad about. But the Phillies took care of business. Jay, what you think?
Yeah, you got a whole sweep all the way down the line, just like you did in the AL side of life. It almost felt like it was scripted. It's so weird. Yeah, Phillies, much better team than they were last year. And they were a good team last year. They made it to the World Series. I'm just saying they had an easier trip on this time, I think. But Miami just didn't come to play. 7-1, 4-1. I mean, how do you do that? Again, 4 runs on 11 hits, 1 run on 7 hits. I mean, you're leaving guys out there on base. Miami left a lot of people on base. Nola, did pretty well. Garrett didn't do so well. Again, I think Arias really hurt them. 2 runs, 3 innings. If you're only getting 3 innings out of your starter, there's something wrong. Real Muto, Turner, multi-hits. I mean, those guys were amazing. Miami, had no answer. The bullpen gave up 5 runs. I mean, their bullpen just couldn't do anything. So, again, when your pitching is killing you and you're really not getting anybody home, it's a recipe for failure. And that's exactly what happened for the Marlins. And Philadelphia advances, honestly.
And, Dustin, were you surprised by this, or did you think the Phillies were going to get the sweep?
Of all the teams that swept, this was the one that I thought would most likely sweep, just because they were in the World Series last year. They have basically the same entire team that they had last year. They have the playoff experience that the Marlins don't have. And you take away the 2020 COVID-shortened season, this was the first time that the Marlins made the playoffs in a 162-game season since 2003. Wow. So
been a while.
Phillies pretty much had, I think, the easiest opponent in that first round. So to see them sweep, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, Philly had the hot bats. Everyone was hitting well, and now going on to the NLDS. Let's go back to the AL now. Jay, give your thoughts. I already know who you're going to pick to win, but my question, I guess, for you is how many games will it take for the Astros to put away the Twins, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think this is the part where we get to where it's not going to be a sweep at all. I think Houston does beat the Twins, but I think it's going to be, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be, I think it's a 5-game series.
Yeah,
I got the Twins. Yeah, so I got the Twins getting 1 win. I think it's going to be 4-1. Twins get it. Correa was a big-time help for them last series, but that's last series. And Houston knows Correa. but Correa knows Houston. I just think Houston has way too many bats for those guys to deal with. Now, when you look at the ERAs of both clubs, 3.94 to 3.87. We did lose both series. That is something to note. Houston did lose both series 1-2. Actually, it was 1-2 in both those series in favor of the Twins. But we got Brantley back. We got a different pitching lineup, honestly, with Verlander now. I think if Verlander had been there, I think we would have either split that series or taken some of those series. It's a little bit different Astros team because you got to remember when we played the Twins, we played them at the beginning of the season when we were really struggling at the beginning of the season. And I'll be honest with you, bar none, the Astros are the best team in all of this, AL and NL. The problem is Houston has lost a lot of their hunger. And when a team loses its hunger, when a team loses its edge, that's where they seem to slide, and that's where they seem to be inconsistent. The thing for Houston is they have to get that hunger. They have to have that hunger burning inside of them like they had last year. If they have that same feeling inside of them that they had last year, we will win out. I promise you we will win out. But the Twins, my big thing about the Twins is I just don't think they have enough hitting or enough offense. When this Houston team gets rolling, I don't think they're going to have enough offense to keep up with us.
All right, Dustin, who you predicting to move on?
Well, Jay, Minnesota does have enough offense to keep up with Houston because if you go back to August 1st, Houston is averaging 5.4 runs per game, and Minnesota is averaging 5.6. Minnesota has averaged the most runs in the American League since August 1st, which is a big reason why they had such a big surge that final month of the season. Playoff experience obviously does matter, and Houston has about the same amount of playoff experience because Minnesota's made the playoffs now 3 straight years and 4 of the last 5. So Minnesota does have playoff experience. They just don't have the deep run experience that Houston has. And then when you start getting into these best of 5s as opposed to the best of 3s, it starts to become a matter of experience because your manager has to mix and match different combinations as opposed to basically a best of 3. It's all hands on deck. You need pretty much everybody to be ready every single game because you lose game 1, your backs are against the wall the rest of the way versus you lose game 1 of a best of 5. It's not the end of the world yet because you can still win and make it 1-1 and then it becomes a best of 3 after that point. I do think Houston is going to win this series. I think they win it in 4 games. I think Minnesota gets one of those games in Minnesota. But I do expect Minnesota to be in every single one of these games. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk series at all because Minnesota has shown that they have the offense that can beat anybody like they've done the last 45, 50 games.
See, that's what's weird, though, real quick, because I actually had them the game that I had the Twins getting is the one in Houston, and that's because if you look at Houston's track record, they lose more games at home than they have on the road. They actually have a better road record than they do a home record. So if there was actually an advantage for Minnesota, it's the fact that they're playing most of their games in Houston, where Houston actually has struggled more often than not at home versus on the road. So that actually plays to the strength of Minnesota being on the road. The problem with it, Dustin, is Houston's pitching is so deep that we actually have starters in our bullpen rotation. That's where I think the Twins struggle, and I think that's where ultimately the winner of the Baltimore-Texas is going to struggle, is because I don't think their pitching rotation is near as deep as ours.
No, I agree, but the only reason why I said Minnesota was going to win in Minnesota is because Sonny Gray is going to pitch game 2. Sonny Gray is 1-6 with an 11.45 ERA at Minute Maid, so I don't see him winning game 2. Pablo Lopez is scheduled to pitch game 1. He's 0-3 with a 9 ERA at Houston. Neither one of them pitches well in Houston.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go, kind of echo what y'all been saying. I got Houston in 4. I think that Houston's postseason experience, and if their pitching is clicking, I think they'll take it. But to Dustin's credit and to his point, Minnesota does have a very good offense, so I do expect them to kind of keep up. And I do expect a close series, Jay. I think your boy's going to pull it out. But I don't know if you're going to be getting a cakewalk, easy wins. Minnesota's coming to fight. You know they are. You know they come to fight. They haven't been here in quite some time, and they want to keep on moving.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go to our boy Oz's team now with the Texas Rangers taking on the Baltimore Orioles, and I think this is going to be a very good matchup. I don't know about y'all, but I think this one's going to be close. Dustin, kick things off. Who's moving forward, Texas or Baltimore?
I'm going Texas in 5.
Oh, 5-game series. Love to see it.
The big reason is it's not even a player.
Okay.
It's Bruce Bochy.
Ooh.
Bruce Bochy's been there. He's done that. He won 3 World Series in 5 years with the Giants. 2 of them came out of the wild card spot. So being a wild card team does not bother Bruce Bochy. And when he was winning as a wild card team, it was the best of 1. It wasn't a best of 3. So he knows what it's like to basically win when your backs are on the line. And going up against a Baltimore team that has not made the playoffs since 2014, going up against a manager who has never been in the playoffs either, except as the Chicago Cubs bench coach back in 2016 under Joe Madden, there's not a single person on Baltimore that has any playoff experience. Texas has Marcus Semien, playoff experience. Corey Seager, playoff and World Series experience. Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, granted they're not pitching, both of them have World Series experience. So they have plenty of playoff experience on this roster. And ultimately, it comes down to that experience. And when you have a guy in Bruce Bochy who's everyone's going to say he was the best manager in baseball from 2009 through 2015 because he won 3 World Series in that stretch, and basically every single time it came out of the wild card spot. This is not unfamiliar territory to him, so I think Texas wins the series 3-2.
All right, Jay, who's moving on and how many games?
Yeah. It's going to go 5. I'll be honest with you. It goes 5. What worries me for Texas is Gray and Scherzer are on the IL.
Yeah.
So they're not even available, which Justin will tell you. And he said it at the very beginning of all of this, before the season even started, that the only thing that Rangers needed to get into the postseason was pitching. And I agree with them. They got Seager, Lowe, Carter. I mean, that offense is stacked. Mm-hmm. It's stacked in over there in Texas. It really is. The problem is their pitching isn't quite as stacked. Now, that's not to say, look, if you look at the way Montgomery is pitching right now, and if you look at the way Valdi is pitching right now, can those 2 guys by themselves carry the load? The only way Texas wins this, the only way, is if Evaldi and Montgomery both win, and somehow or another, that back end of the rotation has to come away with one win as well. And that's where it scares me for Texas, is the back end of that rotation. I think Baltimore. I mean, honestly, I think Texas kind of stumbled into the playoffs. They really did. Not to say that the Houston Astros didn't stumble either, because they both kind of stumbled and got in there. I mean, it really
made it.
At one point, we thought Seattle was going to make it as the number 1 spot for the division. I mean, it was crazy over there in the West. The Orioles are young, man. They're young. Brandish and the other guy. What's that other dude's name? Rushman. Brandish and Rushman. No, not Rushman. It's Means. That's the one I was thinking of. Brandish and Means both have ERAs under 3. So those 2 guys alone can compete with Evaldi and Montgomery. I don't know, man. This is one of those games where I just don't know. Texas is a great offense. Baltimore has a really good pitching and really good defense. I don't know, man. Logan, I've been struggling over this Rangers and Orioles. I've been going back and forth. I think the Orioles are just. I'm going to go Orioles in this one, simply because I just think momentum is on their side. I think they've been going through the regular season, build up the momentum all the way through. The only thing that can hurt them is if they get cocky, because they've been number 1 in the AL for so long, and they are young. And if that cockiness gets to them, that could be a detriment. So
good point. That's a very good point.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna go Orioles, and I'm gonna say, 2-2. I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be 3. I think it's gonna go 3-2.
Yeah,
3-2 in favor of the Orioles.
Well, at least we're all in agreement. I want this one to go 5 because, like I mentioned, I think this is a very interesting matchup. Dustin brought up a great point. Bruce Bochy, the experienced manager for the Texas Rangers, who were hobbling in there, a little bit of injuries, late season struggles, and they've got the young, brash, just full of energy Baltimore Orioles, who, like you mentioned, don't really have any experience. They're just kind of here figuring out what to do. It's a toss-up. It really is. I think this is going to be a great series. I pray to God it's a great series. But I'm going to go with Baltimore. They've shocked a lot of people. No one thought they were going to be the number 1 seed in the AL East. No one thought they were going to win 100 games. And so I'm going to have them moving on. They made a heck of a turnaround in the past year. And so I'm going to have them getting the win in this one, also in 5 games.
I'll tell
you one thing though, Logan, real quick. I think it would be it would be in Houston's favor if it was Texas that beats Orioles.
Yeah.
I think that would be their favor. I think if the Orioles play Houston, that is going to be a clash of the Titans. And again, that's going to be that's going to be difficult. That's going to be really difficult. I think Houston's got to play Texas, just so they have something left in the tank for the World Series, to be honest with you.
And Dustin, your thoughts one more time?
As good as the Orioles bullpen is, they don't have Felix Bautista.
That is true. He's going to be out for a year, I
believe,
right?
He had Tommy John early September. So
yeah.
Right now, the Orioles have gone closer by committee for the month of September, and that's not something you can do in the postseason.
Good point. We'll see what happens. Going over to the NL, well, the Diamondbacks shocked the world, surprisingly. And will they beat the Dodgers? Will they take down the team that's been just beating them up for years now? Dustin, kick things off, my friend.
This will be the only series that I think is a sweep. I just think the Dodgers have handled the National League West for years. They were, I believe, 10-3 against the Diamondbacks this year during the regular season. They won 7 straight against the Diamondbacks to end the regular season, like their last 7 games of the series. Mm-hmm. So this is the team that they're very familiar with. They know everything about the Diamondbacks. Plus, the Dodgers are well rested. Yeah, they have all their starters are lined up, ready to go. Granted, Arizona is going to have all their starters lined up, ready to go, with the exception of Brandon Pfaadt will not be starting Game 1. It will be Zach Gallen, who started Game 2, and then Merrill Kelly starting Game 2, who would have been the Game 3 starter in the wild card round. So the Diamondbacks are going to shuffle that part of the rotation a little bit. But, I mean, nobody expected the Diamondbacks to be here. So at this point, I think whatever happens, the Diamondbacks are happy with what they've done. They're playing with house money at this point. They got to the playoffs. They won a playoff series, and now they're like, oh, we're in the divisional round. No one expects us to be here. If we win, more props to us. If we lose, we weren't even supposed to be here. I just think the Dodgers are gonna sweep. I expect both games in LA to be pretty much a one-sided affair. I think Arizona will put up a fight at home, but it's not gonna be enough in the end.
Jay, who's winning this one, my friend?
Yeah, I'm very much in agreement with what Stack Guy just said. I would love to see Arizona in the World Series as much as anybody because, let's be honest, Houston flat out destroys Arizona every time they play. And that
that's your reasoning.
Hey, that would be an easy World Series for Houston, honestly. But we're all realistic people, and like Dustin said, they're lucky they're playing with house money. They're lucky to even be in the the NLDS. They're lucky to even be there. And LA is not a team to play around with, like they were with the Brewers. Betts and Freeman are just playing out of their minds. I'm not impressed with D-backs at all. So I think it's going to be a simple series for LA. I think if you look at the pitching though, that's where I would say that is the one sore spot for LA. I think they got a 4.06, I think it is, and I believe D-backs have a 4.48. So that's the one thing I would say is a weakness for LA is their pitching. It has been better than this.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I might be generous and get Arizona taking one at home, but I think ultimately the Dodgers are going to win this series. And Jay, I'll be honest, I thought initially at the beginning of the year, I thought the Dodgers might be taking a step back just because they had lost a lot of guys in free agency, remember. They lost a ton of guys, and they didn't really do a whole lot, but that proves that, that's why we're not GMs at the moment. There's still time. But I am going to go with Los Angeles moving on in this one. I'll go Los Angeles. You know what? I'm going to go with a sweep. I might as well agree with my brothers here and move forward with that. And I'll go ahead and give my final prediction for the next series. I'm already wearing the shirt today. Just went to work. So that's my thoughts on who's moving on. Jay, I'll let you go things. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Braves and Philadelphia. This is one of them kind of games, Logan. I know everybody's going to say Braves, but that Philadelphia team, man, dang. I don't know, man. I don't know. With Nola over there and Wheeler over there and company, Turner over there, Bryce Harper over there, Schwarber's over there. I mean, Logan, I got to be honest with you, man. I do think Atlanta does win this. I'm not going to. But Atlanta, as you know, Logan, y'all been playing kind of soft the last weeks of the regular season coming into this. You guys really were playing kind of soft, and you actually kind of showed that you were actually, beatable which we knew you were beatable a while back because there was a point in the regular season when Houston had the same record as you guys did, and then you guys kind of took off on a forward trajectory, and I think the Astros kind of just hovered where they were. But no, I think this is going to be close. I think it's 3-2, but ultimately, I do have Atlanta taking that win.
All right, Dustin.
Fasten your seatbelts and grab your popcorn for this series. This is going to be a fun one.
Oh, yeah.
You don't consider these teams as a rival too much just because outside of those 4 years when Philly was going to the World Series almost every year, Atlanta's pretty much dominated this rivalry up until the last postseason. And now that kind of reignited this rivalry, and these teams hate each other. You see during the regular season how much these teams hate each other. You saw it last year in the playoffs how much these teams hate each other. And with the Braves pitching staff being kind of in the situation that they're in, not having Max Fried, not having Soraka, Charlie Morton, I think is still gone for this playoff series. I'm still trying to figure out what the Braves are going to do for pitching.
Yeah.
The Phillies have Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Taijuan Walker set up 1-2-3 with Ranger Suarez waiting for Game 4 if they need him. But the Braves, I think, are in a little bit of trouble pitching-wise. But that offense is absolutely relentless. You can be down 6-0. Next inning, Braves will be up 7-6. Like, that offense is absolutely relentless, that no lead is safe against Atlanta at this point. This series is going to go 5 games. And I'm going to say 4 of the 5 games go into extra innings. And I think the Braves win it in 5 games, but it's going to be an absolute war and an absolute fight.
Absolutely. Yep. I agree with that 100%. It's going to be a war.
It's going to be fun, but obviously I got to take my boys. Atlanta wins this one. Not in a sweep. I'll take Atlanta in 5 just because why not give myself some heart attacks at night? Why not? Well, guys, that was our recap of the AL and NL wildcard series and our preview. Who we think's moving on to the division series. Here in a little bit, of course, we'll be doing recaps of the division series, doing championship series, World Series, so on and so forth. Like I said, baseball is in full swing in October. Fun to see. Always, Jay McLovin, Dustin Reese. Always a pleasure talking sports. You're talking to baseball today. Been your host, producer, Logan Landers. Through the rest of your nights, everyone. Enjoy some baseball, football, whatever your sport is this weekend. And we'll talk to you again on another live episode.